I think one of the hardest realizations you can have while healing is realizing some people were more comfortable with the broken version of you, the version with no boundaries, the version that stayed emotionally available no matter how drained you were, the version that tolerated disrespect, the version that second-guessed itself, the version that kept explaining itself, the version that stayed easy to manipulate because it didn't fully know its worth yet. And the crazy part is, some people will tolerate your dysfunction longer than they'll tolerate your healing, because healing changes the relationship dynamic. When you start healing for real, when your discernment sharpens, when your spirit matures, when your peace becomes more important than people pleasing, suddenly the same people who benefited from your lack of boundaries start getting uncomfortable. Not because you became evil, not because you became arrogant, but because you became harder to control. And some of y'all keep blaming yourself because the resistance increased after you started changing. Nah, sometimes the warfare intensifies because hell realizes it's losing access to you. That's why Nehemiah faced opposition while rebuilding the wall. The rebuilding itself threatened old access points. That's why Pharaoh resisted Israel leaving Egypt, because systems built around bondage panic when freedom enters the picture. And some people don't necessarily miss you. They miss the version of you that abandoned yourself to keep them comfortable, the version that stayed accessible, the version that stayed emotionally tangled, the version that didn't know how to say no, the version that kept reopening doors God was trying to close. But hear me carefully. Not everybody resisting your growth is doing it consciously. Some people just feel the shift happening. They can feel you pulling out of survival mode. They can feel your identity locking in. They can feel your spirit becoming grounded. They can feel they no longer have the same emotional access that they used to have. And that threatens people who built their connection to you around dysfunction. That's why the guilt increases. That's why manipulation increases. The misunderstandings increase. The pressure increases because dysfunction had a relationship with your old identity. But let me tell somebody this. The fact that you crave peace now, it ain't weakness. The fact that chaos exhausts you now is not weakness. The fact that certain conversations drain you now is not weakness. Your spirit is rejecting what your old self learned to survive in. God is rebuilding your mind, rebuilding your confidence, rebuilding your discernment, rebuilding the walls around your life. And the warfare you've been feeling lately, it may not be because you're failing. It may be because the enemy realizes you're finally becoming difficult to access. Nehemiah said, I am doing a great work and I cannot come down. Some of y'all need to stop climbing down from the wall every time something tries to pull you back into confusion. Protect the rebuilding. You fought too hard to become this version of yourself.